things that happened to us years and years and years ago can affect our day-to-day lives and what we think about ourselves. Hello, hello, and welcome back to the podcast, The Elevated Women's Club. If you are new here, I am so excited to have you here. We are coming back with another episode because as I go through things in life, I just want to share them with this community that I'm building, that I'm so excited for as I go through my elevation and my transformation journey, because as women, I feel like we are always elevating, always transforming, always changing, and we're just going to go on this journey together. We are going to improve our mental health, and we are going to do it in a way that is going to feel good in our bodies and that we can actually learn and grow from together. So thank you for joining. So I am excited to talk about this topic today, and it's because I've probably been on my separation journey for about a year now, and I've learned so much. And I will tell you one thing, that if you are trying to elevate, you are trying to transform yourself, unfortunately, you will have to undergo some type of separation process. So today we are going to talk about what that separation process looks like from a transformation standpoint. And then also I want to give you ladies something that'll make this process easier for you than it was for me. So we're going to talk about ways to make that separation easier as we go through it. So like I said, when you are transforming and you're in your transformation journey, there is a separation that's going to take place. There's going to be a separation from your old self, your old identity, your old beliefs, thought patterns, your old ways of thinking. You're transforming into a new self, a new life, a new person. So of course you're going to have new thoughts, new beliefs, new actions that are going to happen, new behaviors, just new ways of thinking that this journey will require you to go on, because you cannot be the same person operating in the old school, old mentality, and the old way of thinking that you've been used to. And you can think about it this way. When you're born, you are automatically set apart. There is no one like you. Yes, even if you're a twin, even if you're a multiple, you are still different from anyone that you were born with or anyone there is on earth currently or who has ever lived. You have an identity. You don't know what that identity is yet, but you know that you are different. You are already automatically set apart. As you grow up, then you will also go through experiences. Things will happen to you. Even if you're a sibling, like you have a sibling and you go through something in life, and you could have vastly different recollections, thoughts, or feelings about something that you've both experienced, maybe even at the same time, because your way of thinking, your thought patterns, your mind is not the same as your brother or sister's mind. So as we get older, we go through life. Society tells us we need to be a certain way, and we don't think about the ramifications of what that means, essentially, right? Like we go through life, we go to school, we get a good job, we work for 40 years, we retire, we die. Like that's what society tells us we need to do, right? And if we have anything outside of that, it may or may not be positive or negative, depending on what it is. But we were never meant to conform and all do the same thing as a society. God never intended that for us when He set us apart from the womb, coming into this world, not made like anyone else. How can we be expected to now conform to a belief or an indoctrination by millions or billions of people when that's not what we were intended to do? We were already separated. We were already set apart from the very beginning. So what unique skills, traits, attributes, thoughts, beliefs do you have that make you set apart? That's your job to figure out. But we were not made to conform. We weren't. And we can have similar interests. We can have similarities between us that make us feel like, okay, we're part of a community. That's wonderful. But when you try to make something of yourself that you're not, like let's say you see something that someone has, maybe it's a car or a house or a family, and you automatically maybe feel some type of way like jealousy, or you're thinking maybe you should be there sooner. Maybe you're thinking the relationship that you're in is not working out. Those are different problems, right? But you weren't meant to have the same path that that person is that you're envious of. That is their path. And you have no idea, honestly, what that path looks like. You only see what they want you to see, right? So you have to keep in mind that You are not meant to go through and experience things the same way that everyone else is experiencing them and going through them, because you're different. And unfortunately, society doesn't make that easy for us. However, when you learn to separate yourself mentally from that stronghold society has on us that tells us we need to be a certain way, we need to act a certain way, we need to look a certain way, then you will start to see, okay, now my transformation journey begins because I'm focused on me now. It's not all about everybody else externally outside of me. I'm separating myself because I want to do better. I want to get better. I want to learn differently. I want to experience things differently. And that's all I am concerned about, is finding out the purpose that God put me on this earth to fulfill. And I will tell you that if you think that you are going to skip this separation part of your transformation and have a new result with the same old thought patterns, beliefs, ideals, views, it's not going to happen. You cannot have transformation without separation. It is impossible. You can't expect a different outcome with putting in the same inputs, right? Like you can't do the same routines, have the same beliefs, thoughts, friends, doesn't matter, right? Whether it be internal or external, like you cannot have a different result with the same inputs going into that process. And I hope that makes sense, but I'm a process person, so it makes sense to me. But if you want a different outcome, you have to separate yourself. You have to go through the transformation, and then you have to have the result of the new beliefs, the new ideals, the new thought patterns in order to get that different result that I know we all want and we are all so deserving of. So I will say it again. You cannot have transformation without separation. And transformation comes from a renewing of the mind. That is why you have to separate yourself from that old way of thinking. So how are we going to make this separation process easier for ourselves? The first thing you're going to do is take that thought and you're going to dissect it. And this is going to be a little bit difficult. And I was shocked when I went through this exercise. I knew that something had to change. So I took a notebook, and one day I just wrote down every negative and positive thought that I had. Of course, there's probably going to be more negative thoughts that you have throughout the day, and you'll just notice that when you do this. During the day, I just want you to write them down. I want you to write down everything. And it's going to be difficult because you're going to feel like you don't have time to do this, which is why so many of us don't feel like we can, heal our traumas now. But you have to do it. I'm sorry. You just have to do it, because without the acknowledgement, without you seeing physically on paper what you're thinking about throughout the day, you won't be able to separate yourself from it or change from it. And you won't also realize how much it impacts your day-to-day movements until you do this exercise. So let's say something comes up for you. Let's say you had some trauma in the past that you didn't even realize was affecting you. But let's say you had a parent or a friend who made fun of you anytime you read out loud, right? Let's say you weren't a very good reader and you did it because you were self-conscious, because somebody was watching you, critiquing you. Maybe it was a classroom, a classmate, but whatever it was, someone said something to you that was hurtful. And maybe they, asked if you had difficulties reading. Maybe you had a teacher too that told you like you're not a very good reader. And maybe she even flunked you in her class. Like, I don't know what that is. I'm just using this as an example. But let's say you had a negative experience around reading or presenting out loud when you were a child. Now you're in the workforce. Now you're going to work every day. Everything's good. Life is good. But now your boss said, okay, you have to do the safety moment, like something so short, so simple, so small, may take a minute to present, but you have to do the safety moment for a company-wide presentation that's happening in a week. How do you think that's going to make you feel on your day-to-day leading up to that week, knowing that you had that stored trauma that you never addressed in the back of your mind, that you're not very good at presenting, you're not very good at reading, people have made fun of you in the past, and now you have to do this in front of your whole company. Let's say it's 1,000 people. You're probably not going to feel very good leading up to that day, right? And you're going to have a lot of negative, insecure thoughts that are going to pop up for you that you didn't even realize were there until this event happened. I'm telling you that this has happened to me in the past, right? Like something has happened to me and I just knew that I hadn't healed it. And it wasn't around reading, but it was around some other stuff, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the trauma is, but things that happened to us years and years and years ago can affect our day-to-day lives and what we think about ourselves. So when that happens, I want you to write that down. Let's say you write down like, I am so nervous. I'm a terrible reader. I'm a terrible communicator. Everybody's going to see me. Everyone's going to laugh at me. Okay, now you're going to take that thought and you're going to dissect it. And you're going to ask yourself, first off, is that true? Chances are the thought that you're thinking of that's consuming your day-to-day life and your worries is not true. Like, you're probably a good reader. You're probably just traumatized from something that happened to you in the past. You're also going to get to the root and figure out why that is a trauma for you. Why do you feel like you're not a good reader? Why do you feel like you can't present to a group of people? What happened? Get it out on paper. Stop trying to push it down, set it aside, and never addressing it. You have to dig into it. Okay, now that you've done that, you're going to ask yourself, is this thought serving me anymore? Can I simply separate myself from it mentally? Because you can choose to, but it's not that simple all the time, right? So if you can, wonderful. If you know that you need a little bit more help and a little bit more time to do so, okay, then tell yourself, what am I going to do now to become a better reader, a better presenter? Am I going to practice? Can I ask a friend if they would like to go through this slide with me? Can I meditate beforehand? Can I go on a walk? Can I do an exercise quickly, maybe a few jumping jacks to get out the jitters right before the presentation? Can I ask my boss if I can rehearse this with them? Like, what actions can I take to separate myself from this negative thought and this negative belief about myself? Because chances are it's not serving you anymore, not in a positive way. You cannot transform if you're not willing to overcome the negative things, the negative experiences, and the negative traumas that you went through in the past. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to write them down, think about them, meditate on them, ask yourself if they're true, dissect it, see where the thought came from, and then create some type of action, just 1 to 2 actions that you can do to separate yourself from this thought, to improve yourself, get better, and to mentally remove this from your wheelhouse altogether. Without acknowledgement, you can't fix anything. So if you try to push away, push aside, forget that this ever happened to you, you will never be able to get to the root of it. However, your brain knows, like, okay, I am not a good presenter. This is threatening my survival. I have to get out of this. I can't do this. Maybe I quit. Maybe I want to quit my job. Like, that's extreme, and I hope nobody does that. But I'm telling you, like, these thoughts will go through your head. You're like, okay, I cannot present to 1,000 people. I have to get out of this. What is your brain going to do? It's going to do the easiest thing that it can do to keep itself safe, because you never addressed the trauma that happened to you all those years ago. So this is something you have to do. Take a day. If it takes a week, because you're like, okay, I still have some things that are still coming up for me a week later, that's fine. But whenever they come up for you and you know this is something that you need to write down and get out of your system and create an action plan to make sure this doesn't happen to you in the future, do that. Journal it, write it down, dissect it, think about it, meditate, and then create the actions needed in order to improve this going forward or to separate yourself from it altogether. The second thing you are going to do is to find an outlet or find a way to be alone. Okay? I don't know about you, but I love some alone time. Okay? I love my family. I love my husband, my children. Okay? All my friends. I do. But I also love my alone time now, and it's actually precious to me. It's sacred. I'm actually choosing to film this video now on some of my alone time while my kids take a nap, and I think my oldest daughter is out with my husband watching a movie. So I'm like, I love it, and I just wanted to share this whole video with everybody because you can do what you want. You can get clarity. You can think, okay? Please do not be afraid to be alone, because when you start separating yourself from the outside world, that is when the clarity, the inspiration, the creativity, the thoughts can come to you. Like, I was a person who always surrounded myself with other people. I realize now it was a traumatic response that I was dealing with. I do love people. Like, I'm naturally more of an extrovert. I can get along with a lot of people, and I'm thankful for that gift that I have. However, when I was younger, or even in college or right outside of college, I always had people around me. It was a lot. And at the time, I didn't think about how it looked and how exhausting it was on my energy, like looking back at it. But when you're always with someone, you can't remove yourself from the thoughts of others, from the ideas of others, from what they want to do. Like, you don't even know what you want at the end of the day, or what you want to do, or what would make you happy, because you're always with somebody else. You're always doing something together. You're not thinking independently because they're there. And it doesn't matter who it is. And you can love your family and still like to be alone sometimes. You can take a walk. Like, I like to take 2-mile walks, no headphones. I just want to be with my thoughts. I want to be alone. Sometimes I take my dogs, sometimes I don't, right? I just want to experience that alone time by myself. Sometimes I meditate. Sometimes I journal and I get my thoughts out on paper, like we talked about in the last step. Sometimes I just sit in my room, no phone, no TV. I have this eye mask, this heated eye mask. It's a long story, but I like to put it on my eyes. I like to rest for like 15 to 30 minutes. No thoughts, in prayer, maybe, right? I will talk to God during that time, or I'll just talk to myself. You have to separate yourself from outside noise to know what you actually, truly, and genuinely want. It's impossible for you to always be with someone or always have a device nearby, watching something, looking at something, watching someone else, talking to someone else, and still know what you truly, truly want and how you want to show up every day to the world, because you're always going to be influenced by someone. So trust me, spending time alone is going to be glorious. If you are not accustomed to it, start spending 5 to 10 minutes a day by yourself with no device, no person, no nothing. Go on a walk. Just go on a walk. Take a mile walk with no headphones for 20 minutes. It'll take you 20 minutes. And just see what comes to you. See what inspiration, what thoughts, what creativity, what comes out of it. And I promise, I was not accustomed to this. I just started this a couple years ago, and I was shocked with how quickly I started having ideas, creativity, thoughts that were independent and my own. And I felt so much better, so much more free. The third thing you are going to do is, it sounds cliche, but you have to do something outside of your comfort zone. You have to do something that will scare you. Like I mentioned earlier, a few years ago, I would have never been making videos like this. Never. I was very structured, a very process-oriented person. I thought that you had to give like the 5, 10, 15 steps to get something done. I was very action-oriented, very results-driven. Yes, I still am, okay? But that's not what I want to talk about. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to think outside of my free time and make content about. I always did want to make content. I always did want to build a community. I always did want to get my thoughts out and share some of the things that I've been through, because I know it would help other people, because I have people that I've coached, I have friends, and I know that this has already helped them by having those shared lived experiences and then giving them my thoughts on it, or just listening to them, which I definitely want you to put all the comments down there to let me know what you think about your transformation journey and how you've been separating yourself from all the things that are just not serving your life anymore. So like I said, you have to do something that will scare you a little bit. And making content like this did scare me a few years ago, because I was like, first off, what am I going to have to share that would be beneficial to anyone, right? We automatically start the comparing. We start looking at everybody else. We start thinking, what could we possibly have to contribute? Your brain is telling you, nope, this is not you, girl. You do not show up like this. You do not get on social media and you do not talk like this. Like, we all have things that we would go through in life, that we experience, that we feel comfortable with. And then you have things that you don't feel comfortable with. What are those things? What are those things that are not life-threatening that you know you've been wanting to do that you haven't done? How are you going to separate yourself from your comfort zone, just sitting around, eating, chilling, watching everybody else live their life or, achieve their goals? How are you now going to take that first step and do something that makes you uncomfortable, that's going to tell your brain like, nope, this is who we are now. We are the people that get out there. We share, we talk to others, we think independently, we are raising our vibration, which means we are going to help someone else raise theirs. Whatever that is, whether that be building a business, creating content, just simply thinking independently, being by yourself, and maybe creating something from that. Maybe that be a digital product or a course, whatever that is for you. I just want you to start thinking about it. I want you to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing, that you have never done, because without change, there is also no transformation. We are elevating on this podcast. We are all trying to become the best versions of ourselves that we can be, the versions of ourselves that God created us to be. And you can't do that without change, unfortunately. So think about that first step, not 10 steps, not 50 steps, what that would look like. Think about one thing you can do today, something small that would get you outside of your comfort zone, and that would allow you to make a positive change in your life. Like I said, for me, this is creating this video, right? Creating the channel. I also started a kickboxing YouTube channel. Is anybody going to watch it? I don't know, but I've been doing kickboxing for 20 plus years, martial arts. I've been doing martial arts for 20 plus years. And I'm sitting here like I can easily teach someone how to do martial arts. I can easily teach someone how to kickbox, but I chose all this time not to do it because I thought I wasn't ready. I thought I wasn't good enough. I did have 2 kids. And now I'm like, okay, my body is not looking like it used to, but I don't care. I love it. It's fun. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it out there. That scares me. Okay. But I'm doing it. And it's not the best, most fulfilling thing that I've ever thought I've done, but I'm like, I just want to do it. I just want to try. So again, think about what that first step is for you and just do it, because honestly, at the end of the day, no one cares. I promise. So I really do hope that this video helped you. I hope it has allowed you to give yourself the permission to separate from old thoughts, old beliefs, old behaviors, and just kind of fall into the path of transformation and getting you to the point where you are now so focused on just being the best version of yourself, being the person that God created you to be, because she is in there. She is waiting to be released, transformed, and she is ready for the separation process, right? As I go through my journey, and I thought that this was like the most horrible thing that could ever happen to me at the time, me separating myself from all this anxiety, this negativity, people that I just thought it was me losing myself, which I'm like, absolutely not. I'm actually gaining myself. I'm actually finding myself again, who I was created to be and put on this earth. I'm finally feeling like I am transforming. And so I hope that everyone has the same experience as they go through this. So please leave me a comment below. Let me know one thing that you're doing this week that you're going to do that's going to be a little bit outside of your comfort zone, that may scare you. But I know you got this, girl, and you can do it. So we are going to support each other throughout this journey. Leave it in the comments below. Until next time. Bye.